So I actually want to start getting ready in September for a January show.
Welcome to the Buns Thighs Podcast, where we talk about fitness, health, and everything else. We help you move past all of the marketing schemes, hacks, and Instagram trainers out there so that you can learn how to truly be fit. I'm a corrective exercise specialist, and I own PT&C Gym in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I help people reduce and eliminate chronic pain while also losing fat and gaining muscle. I bring into the show other personal trainers and clients who want to discuss topics that you will definitely want to hear about. If you want to learn how to get fit, listen to the show, and thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the Buns Thighs Podcast. My name is Timothy Hilly. I'm your host and the owner of PT&C Gym, personal trainer and company in Colorado Springs, Colorado. With me today, I have Paul Blackburn. He is the owner of Burn Academy, theburnacademy.com. He's a bodybuilder, personal trainer, and a pretty good friend of mine. So, let's see what we have to say. All right. So, is my mic's working this time? So Paul, how have you been this week?
Doing pretty good. It's been a busy week for sure. And next week's going to be a little bit busier, but not bad. How's your week been?
Dude, I've been exhausted. I know that a personal trainer shouldn't say this because we're all perfect and have copious amounts of energy, but I have been pushing myself a little bit too hard and my body hasn't caught up yet. And I'm training multiple clients a day, like 6 days a week. And I'm coming up with like different stuff. And I just hired a new trainer. His name is Nathan. He may show up on the podcast. I think I mentioned that last podcast. And it's I'm tired. My feet hurt after every day. And when I first started corrections, I remember this feeling where I started immediately into 12-hour days and sometimes 16-hour days, especially if you're new. They really push you to. They mandate you and make you stay for an extra 4 hours. It's like illegal to say no. And that's because somebody else called out. And it's a common thing for somebody else to call out in corrections. And it's always the same people. But then it's always the same people that they go to. And they're like, all right, you're staying for another 4 hours. And we're like, but I thought I was going home. And day in and day out of that, I actually got sick my first month of being a correctional officer because I just was not used to working and being on my feet for that long every single day. And I'm kind of getting around the same feeling. And so I'm actively resting. I am actively eating a little bit more and making sure that I get my anime in and some couch time and resting and making sure that my sleep schedule is on point. And I'm on day 2 of my active rest and I feel a whole lot better. Yeah, same workload, same everything, but me pushing the rest portion and not coming home and also trying to come up with new ideas and focus on my business and instead just, doing nothing, turning my brain off, that has made a huge difference. And I'm sleeping 8 hours a day again. So
Yeah, that's super important. Yeah, that rest is incredibly important because I've started doing my fasted cardio in the morning again and intermittent fasting again. So 20 minutes in the morning, waking up at 6:30 all over again to get started. And sleep is definitely what you need. And I feel like I definitely need some tonight.
Yeah. I was actually wanting to I wanted to start jogging again in the mornings because when you're a personal trainer, you're active a lot. And adding more, you have to be careful of overtraining because even while you're training somebody else, you're active, you're picking up weights, you're giving examples. And if you give examples at your weight, that the weight that you work out in, that's how I work out a lot is when I give an example, I put the weight on that I would do. So one, for a selfish reason of me wanting to continue my workout. But two, also showing them things that they can't really think of without seeing it themselves, like strained breathing and purposeful breathing and what it looks like under load, not just giving an example of like a squat with 25s on. I put multiple 45s on and I'm like, all right, so watch me very carefully, pay attention to what I do and pay attention to not only my body language, but my breathing and everything else. And it gives a higher example when I give it at my kind of level, so that they see me under strain instead of making it just flawless and easy. I show them how to do it perfectly under pressure, and your body reacts a certain way if you're doing it easy versus your body reacting a certain way if you're doing it hard. And doing that like for 7 hours straight or even 9 hours straight, that kind of runs you down. So I decided to not start running again until my body acclimates to this new workload. Once it acclimates to the workload, then I might pick up some walking in the morning and then acclimate myself up to jogging. But yeah, that's in the works. But I know that it would be a bad idea to do it now, especially if I'm already feeling overworked. So
yeah, you're probably going to need to eat more then. Get some more protein in, get some more carbs in, and definitely that sleep.
Oh yeah, and that kind of thinking is, for the viewers, is a very good thought. If you're feeling overworked and you're feeling like you're just exhausted and tired, and it's because of a copious amount of physical activity, whether it's your job or you just had a baby, and you're constantly just like being worn down, eating more to match the level of energy that you're outputting is something that a lot of people fear, because they're like, oh, you know what? I'm doing all this extra work. I might as well lose some weight. And you're going to lose some muscle. That's what you're going to lose, especially when your cortisol is that high.
Yes. And then that's where the sleep comes in.
Yeah. And cortisol being high, if you're listening and don't know this, if high stress releases a lot of cortisol, and cortisol can mess up a lot of things in your body if it's in a over amount, if you have too much. So resting and purposeful resting, that is one way to mitigate that, lowering stress and kind of trying to acclimate your body to the new routine, which also includes a nutrition change. But yeah, that's not to get into too much detail, but there's been more work for old Timbo over in Colorado. And I asked for it, I created it, and I'm enjoying it's a good problem to have. And I know I've had this feeling before, so I know it goes away, and I know my body does acclimate to it, and I'm excited to be on the other side of it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's going to pay off.
What did you want to bring anything up before we get into the sciencey portion of the podcast?
We have a song.
We do have a song. Yes, actually, let's do that.
Yeah.
So, for those of you that don't know, we have started a new segment of the podcast, and it is kind of a little intro theme song to get you prepared for the topics today. And the topics are kind of a extension of the last episode. If you're just tuning in for the first time, last episode we talked about full body workouts and that modality and that kind of training, where you go into the gym, you work out your full body, every single muscle in your body, and then you leave the gym, and then you take the appropriate rest days in between, and then that's the whole gimmick. Today we're talking about split sets, so split days, where you can do your upper half one day, your lower half another day, or your antagonist muscles one day, your protagonist of those muscles the next day. Stability and mobility versus just basically splitting the day into two and then taking a rest and then doing it again. So that's kind of where we're going with that. And we're going to talk about trigger sessions. And that's one of the reasons why I brought up my purposeful rest is resting and sitting on the couch versus resting and being a little active. There is a major difference when you're trying to build muscle, and we're going to get into that a little bit too. So, take it away, Paul, with your magic guitar fingers, or however you're creating this music.
Yeah, let's see it.
Wake up in the morning, feel low, we gotta hit the gym, get a six-pack, sleep, 4-day workouts, no time for defeat, I'll be flexing hard while you're still asleep, gotta lift them weights, feel the burning pain, sweat dripping down like a heavy rain. I'm pushing my body, gotta break the chain. No rest for the wicked, grinding all day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every single day I'm getting closer to my pay. I'm in the zone, no time for delay. My workout playlist, it's on replay.
Yeah.
And that was the sweet, sensual sounds of Buns and Thighs. Ready to rock and roll.
Oh yeah, we'll have to do a classic rock next time.
Listen, I like these little songs that we're doing. It's a little motivational, pump ups to kind of get people motivated to go work out. And
Yeah.
these are nice. We should definitely and the sound quality on my end is great. I don't know if you know that, but it's running through the whole system really well on my side. So I'm getting the full experience on my side.
Oh, good. Yeah, that bass that they include usually is
Yeah.
really pretty good.
So let me switch back to, there we go. All right, back to side by side. All right, so jumping into the fitness portion of the podcast. Split sets. I kind of want to do a little recap, tiny one, of last podcast. Like I said before, we were talking about full body workouts, and this is going to be a kind of a series that we're doing. We may not do it consecutively, but it will be completed eventually. Something else may come up that we want to talk about in between, but this is basically episode 2 of programming and you, trademark. But last podcast we talked about full body workouts and the respective rest that comes with full body workouts. The fact that you need at least 48 hours to 3 days to recover muscle when you're breaking it down to build more muscle to finish the arc of muscle gain and the muscle building signal and the completion of it. We didn't talk about how to maintain that muscle, but that's in the future, maybe a few episodes in the future. And we basically said that 2 to 3 days a week when you're doing full body is enough to gain muscle. And I know in lieu of everyone not everyone, but some people are in the thought process that you have to work out 5 to 7 days a week, no matter what, or else you will not get anywhere. And the last podcast that we talked about kind of broke that myth a little bit and saying that 2 to 3 days a week, and not just 2 and not just 3. I like to do a rolling 3 days. So it kind of does 2 days 1 week, 3 days another week, 2 days 1 week, where it's 1 day of workout. And we did not talk about active resting. 2 days of rest. I do 1 day of workout, an active rest, a true day of rest, and then you repeat the process and don't care about what day of the week it is. It's a rolling 3 days, and you just keep on repeating that process. And that's my favorite way to do a full body workout. So that you definitely get the reason why we didn't talk about the active resting is that's a synonym for trigger sessions, and we're going to talk about that today. But today we're going to be talking about split sets. So upper lower antagonist protagonist relationships, compound and concentrated relationships between, let's use Monday, Tuesday. Monday would be like your upper body, and then Tuesday would be your lower body, and talking about why you should do that and what's the respective rest days for that kind of workout, and what are the different combinations that you can do if you're trying to work out 4 days a week, and which is the number that we're trying to achieve right now, 4 days a week instead of 2 or 3. We're bumping it up 1. And if you're doing 4 days a week, full body, every session or every workout is not exactly a good idea unless you're doing a different variation, which is manipulating volume. And let's say there is multiple styles. I never want to say a blanket statement like saying this is the best way, this is the only way. I want to say that respectively, full body workout 4 days a week is not a good idea, unless with an asterisk, you're manipulating volume, or you're doing some sort of thing that allows the body to create muscle without being interrupted. Um, and you're not disturbing the muscle building process. That's what we're trying to prevent with all these different programming forms, is we're trying to not interrupt the muscle building process, while we're also, when the muscle building process is done, we want to start up again so that the arrow is slightly up rather than up then down, up then down, up then down, which is maintenance. Or you work out one day and then you don't work out the rest of the week. There are benefits to that, all health benefits and health related benefits, but you're not going to get very good gains if you're only working out one day a week. You want to repeat the process a few times throughout the week at the right moments so that you continue to gain muscle, and you're hitting the same muscle multiple times per week, but you're not hitting them too close together to where it interrupts the muscle building process and creates overtraining, creates a pain signal rather than a muscle building signal, and you're not tearing fibers that are already torn and trying to heal and damaging yourself. And that's kind of the point of today, is learning the second type that we're trying to do, which is the split set. And Paul, do you have any direction you want to start with in this topic?
Yeah, there's quite a few different ways to do 4 days a week, and split that in a way that you're recovering enough in between days. So as you stated, you can do like an upper lower. You can do, if you do a full body, the variation of rep ranges and weights can be beneficial. Again, also, like we stated last time, a push pull full body could be doable. So like your push full body, again, could be shoulders, chest, triceps, quads, glutes, and calves. And then your pull could be traps, biceps, back, hammies, stuff like that. So if you wanted to do those kind of days, you could. And since you're splitting it up for 4 days, and the reason I also bring up, upper lower, or push pull, full bodies, is because doing 2 days for each muscle and splitting up each muscle into 2 different days is going to be a lot more beneficial than just hitting it once a week, because now you're getting more volume in. So a great example would be German volume training. German volume training consists of 10 reps by 10 sets, or 10 sets by 10 reps, which is a lot of volume in one day. That's 100 reps, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But your capacity, your output diminishes after like set 5, and so you have to go down in weight. Then your form starts to get sloppy, and a lot of things start to go down. But if you decided to do 5 sets one day, 5 sets another day, your output is going to be greater than if you just did it all at once. So therefore, your gains are going to actually come at a better pace. So that's why splitting something into 2 different days is a really great option. So the upper lower, push pull could be great full body for that one. And doing a compound day and a compound day for push pull, and then maybe like accessory push pull could be pretty great as well. And then an upper day compound versus lower day compound, and then the next upper day could be accessory, and then the lower could be more accessory. And what I mean by that is, so your bench press, your squat, your pull-ups, your dips, your deadlifts, and I think there was one more. Let's see. We'll say like a barbell row to get kind of vertical and horizontal pulls. Chin-ups would be probably just as good as pull-ups, because then you get some more bicep recruitment, and then dips, you're going to get chest and tricep recruitment, as like chin-ups, back and bis, stuff like that. So those would be your compound main movements, and you could do those in the beginning of the week. And then your accessories could be like single joint exercises, kind of like leg extensions, leg curls, small bicep curls, tricep extensions, flies, single arm dumbbell row, and or cable pull downs. Like that could be okay for accessory, because you're going to go a little lighter, and you can either increase the sets or decrease the sets depending on what you're trying to do, and the variations can be a lot different. So those are great ways to kind of split up a 4-day week into different splits to gain the rest and recovery you need. Now, if you were going to do everything once a week, then you need to train that muscle to near exhaustion to be able to get the good benefits, because you'll have longer to recover. You'll have basically a week to recover. And so the agonist antagonist days, so you obviously have 4 days, so you would do chest and rows, which is a horizontal day. Then you have shoulders and pull downs, which is a vertical day. And then you have legs, which is, leg extensions, like curls. And then you have arms, which is bis and tris. And then you go as hard as you can on those days to try to get as much fatigue in as you can possibly get, because you're going to have a ton of recovery. So those are a few different ways to make sure you're getting 4 days in, but you're spreading the volume out throughout the week to maintain a good, not pump necessarily, but a good amount of work each day with a nice bit of recovery in between.
So you were talking about doing things 1 day a week, and that kind of alludes to just for the viewers' knowledge. Next podcast. So I kind of I divide these different splits into, and by splits I mean splitting up the body into different days. These different splits into little charts. So for the full body, I call it like a circle, because just you circle the whole body and that's what you're doing that day. For the upper lower, it's a dividing line, and I don't want the viewers to be confused that it has to be upper lower. There may be advanced people that are listening to this podcast, or novice people that are listening to this podcast. And if you're advanced, I apologize for mansplaining, but we want to make sure everybody is on the same page. The dividing line doesn't have to be at the waistline, and you're just doing upper one day and just doing lower the other day. It can be, respectively, a combination of different opposites in the body, and it could be literally so like you said before, the push-pull, that is a layman's terms for, we're going to do back and biceps 1 day, back, biceps, any other pulling motion. You could do hamstrings for a leg curl, any kind of pulling motion, which kind of is a family of different muscles all throughout the body. So it's not just a dividing line upper lower, it's backside, a little bit in the front side. You could technically classify the abs as a pull. If you're doing a weighted sit-up and you're pulling forward, you could do a lot of different classifications for each muscle and decide which muscles you want to do that day. And then the next day, you do the opposing muscles, meaning you do the muscles that you didn't do that day on the other day. That way, you're not doing one muscle back to back and interrupting that process. Unless, now, when you do a workout, you are isometrically stabilizing with a lot more muscles than just the focus muscles. So you're going to be using basically your whole body with a lot of different ones, unless you're turning off purposefully and isolating, like a preacher curl, or let's say a skull crusher, where you're trying to turn off the body and only use a certain amount of muscles. But even then, your forearms are being used every single time you grab something. It's kind of hard to say that we're only going to do these muscles this day, but trying your best, that's kind of the goal. Now, when we get down to the next shift over, instead of just the dividing line, which is this group of muscles and then this group of muscles, that's the split. And the topic for today, not tomorrow, but next week's podcast is going to be about what I call the star split. And what he was referring to was basically saying, okay, Monday is chest day, Tuesday is back day, Wednesday is this portion of the lower body, Thursday is the other portion of the lower body, extremities another day, core the next day, and doing basically a 5 to 7 day split where they are doing one group and assigning it to a day and not hitting it again as the target muscle for the rest of the week. And that is a highly advanced version of working out, and you really need to know what you're doing. And I don't start people there. And when it comes, unless they say, all right, I want to train 7 days a week, and I'm in control of their workout, rather than if I have a client that's like 1 day a week, a star split, in my opinion, is not the right avenue. You have to be kind of advanced to go down that route. And I really want to get into into the details of the different combinations of things, because that one's a fun one. It really is, and that's a whole podcast episode in itself. Paul, what would you say are different combinations for the split, for the 2 muscle group split, 2 day split, and then repeat for 4 days? What would you say are different, basically different combos that people can plan for their Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday, or respectively 2 other days, whatever?
Like actual exercises?
Yeah. So like, what would your day 1 be, and what would your day 2 be? And different examples of the different ones. So like upper lower would be one example, to where they do their entire upper half 1 day, and that's kind of the go-to when people think of a 2 day split. But what are some ones that people wouldn't think of?
So if you're going to do upper lower, you can do just horizontal chest and not incline, and do incline on the second day. So do like bench press, and then maybe dips, and then do some overhead press. And then the next set, you could do flies, and then some sort of tricep extensions, whether it be kickbacks, cable extensions, reverse extensions. And then you could do, and going pretty heavy. And then also probably some, we'll say, upright rows. And then the lower body would be squats, deads, and then calf raises, just to kind of make it easy on that last set. And then your second day could be all incline. So you do incline bench press, and then you could do incline machine press, and then you would do any kind of, like, we'll say, lateral raises, and then front raises. And then you can, if you wanted a superset, so say that you actually had some more time, you could do, or maybe do compound sets. You could do incline bench press with lateral raises into the, we'll say, kickbacks or skull crushers. Let's say skull crushers. And then you cycle through that again. And then the next one you do incline machine press, and then you could do front raises. And then you could also do any kind of, like, we'll say, if you didn't do dumbbell kickbacks, you could do dumbbell kickbacks after that for your more triceps. And then for the legs, you could do leg extensions, leg curls, leg press, and or cycle through all of those. And then the next one you could do would be lunges, and then we'll say pistol squats. And then the last one could be, we'll say, some Romanian deadlifts. So single leg or stiff-legged deadlifts, anything like that, because that will give you all of your heavier stuff, compound stuff in the beginning of the week. And then your second days could be a little bit, like I said, more accessory style, and a little bit lighter, and or doing different variations, trying to pump the blood into the muscle for cell swelling and get that big old pump. And then same for like the push-pull full body, just do the compound, like bench press, dips, and overhead press in the first day, and then maybe do like 5 sets of each. And then the second day for pull, you do deadlifts for sure, chin-ups for sure, and then maybe if you can do barbell row, do barbell row. And then the second push day could be dumbbell chest presses and flies, and then you could do lateral raises and kind of dumbbell Arnold presses. And then you could do extensions and skull crushers. And then for pull, well, and you got to do leg extensions and lunges. And then for pull, you could do your pull downs, your dumbbell rows, your bicep curls, and hamstring curls, along with then maybe single arm reverse pull downs with, we'll say, cable row. And then you've got preacher curls, along with then some, like I said, kettlebell swings or Romanian deadlifts to kind of get some more of the legs. And there you go. That's kind of like a workout for you during the week for 4 days a week.
Nice.
For upper, lower, and or push pull.
So those are some great examples. And if someone is trying to build a workout while they're listening to the podcast, those are fantastic ways to get started with this. And then as the months go by and you start to get used to all of the workouts that you're creating, and you're liking it, you're like, okay, I definitely think 4 days a week is for me. And I think that I'm seeing results. I'm seeing 2 days of workout and then you rest, and then 2 days of workout and then you rest, or you have 2 days of rest in between the groupings. Would you say that it's important to keep the 2 days back to back?
Yes, because I would just say like a Monday, Tuesday with a Wednesday rest, and then a Thursday, Friday with a either Saturday cardio day, or honestly, if you had the weekend that you just wanted to relax, you do your Monday, Tuesday push pull or upper lower, and then Wednesday do your active rest, which would be cardio or the trigger sessions. Like you could do cardio and abs on Wednesday, just to get the blood flowing and trying to get some oxygen to the muscles. Make sure you're eating. And abs, obviously, just accessory kind of abs like crunches or like hanging leg raises, ab wheel, plank, Superman, doing all those really good decline sit ups as well. And then, like I said, Thursday, Friday, doing your other push pull or upper lower. And then Saturday, Sunday, take a break and get a good recovery in. Those are easy ways to make sure that you're trying to get enough in during the week and stay busy, and then for the weekend relax.
So, if this also works, if somebody wants to do 6 days a week, there are some AAA batteries out there that they can't sit on their hands. Their hands are lava, and if they were to sit down, they would explode. And this style of modality does work with 6 days a week as well, but you have to add in active rest days. You're still doing the 2 days and then 2 days, but in between where you're supposed to be resting, you can do, and this is actually, I would promote this for somebody that is trying to do 4 days a week and just has some bands at home, or can do some light calisthenics, trying to get a pump into the muscles that you're recovering specifically. So day 3 after the 2 days, day 3 should be an active rest day. And what I mean by that is doing a full body pump, so that you're focusing on getting blood into the muscles that are recovering. The speed of your recovery entirely rests on how fast your blood pumps, and the rate of red blood cells getting to those muscles, muscle fibers, to help repair and strengthen. Because red blood cells are like taxi cabs, and they bring the carbohydrates, the protein, the oxygen to the damaged portion of your body, and they help repair it. There is a time limit that is set by your CNS and basically just your DNA, and it's over when it's over. How much blood you can get into those muscles during that time limit will increase the recovery rate. It'll increase the amount of muscle that you gain. It'll increase the amount of fat that you lose, because the more muscle that you gain costs more energy. So if you're building muscle at a faster rate, you're actually losing fat at a faster rate as well, because those 3 days, 2 to 3 days of muscle recovery, or even 7 if you're really fatiguing, it costs extra amount of metabolism, extra calories during those days. Even if you're not doing squat during your rest days, you are costing more calories because of that 1 hour you did on Monday and that 1 hour you did on Tuesday. Wednesday, you're doing a full body muscle building experience. And if you were to do a pump or a trigger session, as I call it, or if I'm explaining it, an active rest day, because when I say rest, they think couch, sleep, and food. And while those things are needed, having a pump throughout the day is gonna make the 2 hours that you did, or if you're working out for more than an hour each, more, worth more. So it's gonna make your investment in time worth more. So when you're working out and then you just do nothing for the next day, you will gain muscle, but you won't gain as much muscle as you potentially could. And so if you were to take a band and let's say you're trying to target your traps, right? And
Mhm.
your whole body, you're in day 3, so your whole body is now building muscle. Every single muscle in your body, excuse me, every single muscle in your body is trying to gain muscle, and you want to gain more muscle in your traps. Take a band, bring your elbows up and pull it apart, and really bring your elbows back, flexing your traps. You don't want to get to the point where you're tearing muscle again. You just want to get blood into there. So you want to feel the warmth. That's it. And it's not about reps. It's not about, and I've after training for a while, I've learned when I say it's not about reps, they're like, what do you mean it's not about reps? I need the numbers. It's not about reps. It's about the feeling. Once you start to feel warm there, and you feel, and you can visibly see a pump where it's swollen a little bit, stop. That's it. If you think about the numbers and you're like, okay, I have to hit 20 or 30, you're going to go past that to achieve the number, and it's going to be counterintuitive, because if you work out during your active rest day, and this isn't working out, this is getting a pump. If you're trying to gain muscle during your rest day, you're overtraining and you're breaking down muscle that's trying to build muscle. And so all you're trying to do is push and shove more blood into that muscle on a day that it would normally just be streaming instead of flowing in there and building up in there. And so that's the point of an active rest day. You take a band, you can do the whole thing with one band. You take a band and you target different portions of your body until you get a pump there, and then you move on to the next section. And more concentrated workouts rather than compound is probably going to be better for this one, so that you are more connected to the feeling, so that you're not wondering if your posterior deltoid actually did get hit, rather than on your left side specifically. Like this muscle right here, if you do a row with this, you're going to wonder, like, did I actually hit all of the muscles? You want to do a concentrated workout where it's very, very concentrated on one muscle, and then you get a pump, and then you move on. You can do the full thing in about 20 to 30 minutes. And the best way to do it is to do it about 3 times throughout the day, so that you continuously are upping that blood flow. And it makes the workout worth way more, so that your time isn't devalued. Now, if you're not doing this, you're not wasting your time working out. Definitely, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it can be worth even more. And if you're somebody that gaining muscle is hard for you, there's always a reason. But this could be a way to break through that plateau, that disability to gain muscle. Now, if you do this and you don't eat, that is almost like you're wasting your time, because the taxicab portion of the red blood cells, it needs passengers. It needs stuff in it. And that comes from your diet, your dietary habits. It comes from the breakdown of what's inside your stomach. You're trying to get the food in your stomach to your muscles. That's the whole shebang. And so if nothing is in your stomach and you do this, for one, the body cannot store protein. So whatever is in your stomach from your last meal, that is the protein that your body is using for muscle growth. If nothing is in there, then it takes muscle from a different portion of your body and puts it in the new part of your body, the part that you targeted, called catabolism, and switching over to anabolism. And it is you're not changing. You're just weakening one part of your body, and the part that you use the least, and it's trying to strengthen the part that your body thinks you use the most. And you told it that's so through your workout. And so eat something. Eat something, and pairing this, I said 3 times a day, pairing this with your meals. So eat something, then go ahead and do this about an hour later, or 2 hours later. That's a great way to kind of trickle it into your day and keep it going. You don't want to do an hour and a half in one day, because then you're going to start tearing down muscle again, because you're doing way too much at once. You want to lightly do it, feel a pump, and this can be used with every single workout modality, every single one. And it's also a good way to incorporate full body back into the routine as well. Paul, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to get that pump, it's all about the squeeze, and you're really trying to focus on the stretch and the flexion as hard as you can to get that blood pumped into there. And you can use lighter weight and get the same effect, because during competition season and when you're trying to really lean out, especially either peak week or the day of, you're trying to just get a pump and not tear down the muscle because obviously you're going to be flexing all day. So just trying to get the squeeze in and the pump in, using a little bit lighter weight, even using bands can really, again, help with that pump into the muscle. And it's a great way to get that recovery in because you're bringing, like you said, nutrients and oxygen and a whole bunch of other things to that muscle for repair.
Oh yeah. So did you want to I'd actually like to talk about different variations of like let's say somebody is following a split and they want to stay with the split over a span of like 6 months. You were talking about certain examples for programming for the 2-day split. I'd like to give a few examples as well. And kind of variations over time so that your body never does hit a plateau. And when you're trying to program, you want to try to stay ahead of the adaptation curve. So you do a workout for a while, you get good at it, it's time to move on. Because as soon as you start getting good at it, it's affecting you less. This is less important for somebody that's just starting because I could throw a dumbbell at somebody that's never worked out before and they'll grow muscle in their biceps. But
yeah, it's the muscle fiber change. It's like a type X to type 1A and 2A and stuff like that, I think, or type 1, type 2. But you're moving from like couch potato muscles to actual training muscle fibers to be type 1, type 2.
But for somebody that's been working out for, let's say, a year or even 3, and they are pretty consistent, they've been working out for a while, and they need new stimulus in their life in order to continue that muscle curve, that muscle growth until they hit their genetic limit without help. But we're natty around here, so.
Yeah. So I'll give you. Yeah, I know, right? All natty. Got to get that,
But so I'm gonna make it really simple. Let's say we're doing a upper lower, and Monday we got bench press, overhead press, weighted sit up, row, pull up, and flies, reverse and front flies, anterior and posterior flies. That covers a big portion of your upper body. We could even do hip extensions. I always forget what they're called.
Hip thrusts.
Not hip
or hyper extensions.
Hyper extensions, where you're on that thing and you're doing this with your back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you that are not watching our beautiful faces and you're listening, basically that thing in the gym where it looks like a towel rack. And you see the people laying on it where the body's hanging off, the top portion of the body is hanging off, and they're coming up with a weight or with just their body weight. I think the technical term for them is hip extensions or back extensions. There we go, back extensions.
Back extensions. Yeah.
So that would cover a large portion of the upper body, and then the next day. Lower body, let's say hip thrusts, squats, leg curls. I like to do a thing on the TRX that I'm pretty sure I invented, and I'm pretty proud of myself about it, where you put your heels in a TRX, and then your back is on the floor. And you'll see people doing this with, they're trying to do leg curls where their knees go towards their front half. I like to do a hip thrust, maintain the hip thrust, and their whole body comes up as they do a leg curl. So they're basically doing this with their body, and basically you're rocking up onto your shoulders with your knees up in the air, and from your knees to your ears, it's a straight line. And so you're basically doing a hip thrust with a leg curl. So you're doing both jobs, top and bottom tendons of the hamstring. Those will hit you like nothing will ever hit your hamstrings. I swear to God, you will know where they are.
Yeah, because I use gliders for that for some people.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, have them laying down on the mat and just kind of hold the edge, and then tell them to do a leg curl by digging their heels into the floor like they want to go underneath into the basement, and then drag across the floor as they tuck their pelvis into the air. So not just like lifting, but curling their pelvis as they push up
Okay.
to get the under glutes and those hamstring tie-ins a little bit more.
Huh.
And it's almost kind of like they cramp every single time. Every rep, it's like an intense cramping effect. And it's like they're getting a Charlie horse. So it is a very effective
It's super
posterior
intense.
chain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because most people they go to the mega gym with all the machines and they pick out the leg curl machine and they do that with weight. And I honestly think doing what we're talking about, hip thrusting while you do a leg curl, it's much more effective when it comes to targeting hamstrings than just doing the seated weighted leg curl. There's also a common misconception that you can't get ripped with calisthenics. Calisthenics, I can make a grown man cry with calisthenics. You just gotta know how. You just gotta be imaginative enough.
Yes. You
But
got to slow it down or do something else. But yeah, you can make it tough.
corrections actually helped me with that because I watched prisoners work out, and they are very creative. Let's put it that way.
That's where I learned. That's where I learned the variation of the valley. I think it's called the Death Valley. That's a prison workout, or that was a prison variation. It 7 steps in between. So a variation I enjoy so much that people do not. And I'm put my own twist to it. So technically, I think it's like the Sand Valley, the San Juan Death Valley, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So basically, you do like they did dips. So you would do 19 dips, take 7 steps because that's the length of the cell backwards, 7 steps back, do 1, and then 7 steps, 18, 7, 7, 2, and then you're always doing 20 reps, but you're going up and down at the same time until you get to 10, 10, which is 200 reps. And so what I did was I just decided to change it up. Instead of doing 200 reps of just dips, why don't you do push-ups, 19 push-ups, and then 1 bench press, 18 push-ups, 2 bench press, 17 push-ups, 3 bench press. And so you're hitting closed chain, open chain, compound movements, and you're kind of getting a break with the push-ups because it's a lot easier, body weight, and then you're doing as heavy as you can bench press, either on the Smith machine or if you have a spotter on the regular free weight barbell. But again, that gives you the closed chain, which is origin oriented, and then open chain, which is insertion oriented, and then you're meeting into the middle to 10 and 10. So you do 200 reps all together. If you need to shorten it, you could just do, 9 and 1, 8 and 2, 7, 3 until you get to 5, 5, and that can be a lot shorter of a time frame than having to do 200 reps.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. I've never actually heard of that. That's
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
Oh man, there's a guy who I do it to all the time because he wants to build his chest, and talk about a chest pump. Like that is going to tear up your chest. So yeah, start with 19 push-ups and then do 1 bench press as heavy as you can, and then maybe give him a second after the 20 reps have been completed. I'll give him a small break, probably like 10 steps, since he's going a lot heavier. And then I'll have him do 18 push-ups and then immediately 2 bench press, 10 steps, or 30 seconds if need be, all the way down to 10, 10.
I'm gonna be really bad on this podcast because I get distracted really easily. And I was I was talking about the examples for a split squat. Now we're talking about prison workouts.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's my fault.
Yeah.
All right. So
That was a
anyways,
tangent. Sorry.
yeah. So the example I gave let's even break it down even more simple. Let's say the upper body is just row and bench press. That's what you're doing that day, and you're happy with it. And then the next day you're doing just deadlift. Okay, that's not the workout that I'm suggesting, but for my point, that's what we're gonna do. And then you do that for a month, and then the next month you change it to dips and pull-ups, and then for the next day you do squats. And so same muscle groups, same part of the quadrant of the different groups of the body, but different focus on the same muscles. And then the next month you do overhead press, incline bench. Instead of chin-ups, now you're doing pull-ups. Maybe I said pull-ups last time. Instead of pull-ups, you're doing chin-ups, and you're doing reverse flies. So, and then for the next day, for the lower, you're doing weighted hip thrust and breaking it down a little bit more and doing some leg curls and quad extensions and calf raises. Basically, my point that I'm trying to make is that if you respect the quadrants of if you know the quadrants of the body, and you can put insert workout here and it fits inside that quadrant, you can scroll through the list of inside that quadrant. So like bench press, overhead press, tricep extensions, that kind of relative similarity, you can make your own workout, and over a span of a year to multiple years, and have a new workout each month, as long as you're hitting the same muscles, changing the signal by changing the workout, and your gains should not slow down until your body gets used to changing it slightly. Then you have to change it starkly, and have that be the new signal, because your body can adapt to adaptation. It takes longer, and you're good for a while, but eventually that's when your body starts to be like, oh, we're a bodybuilder. I know that now. And so then you have to start being really creative. But that's later. And so if you're trying to build your own workout, I suggest, and this is as my personal training style, I suggest that you change the workout each month. You stay in the same structure until your body gets used to that structure. And then the stark difference is changing modalities. That's my opinion. I think that, and I've seen it work for many of my clients, where they work out 3 days a week. We do full body for a while, and then full body, even though we're changing each month, going from squat to deadlift to weighted lunge to weighted split squat to Bulgarian split squat, and we're changing for a while, their gains start to slow down. And then we're like, okay, instead, now let's start doing 4 days a week, and let's start doing a split, a 2-day split, and do that twice in the same week. Changing, that's a stark difference. A minor difference, a minor change, is still a difference in signal, and so your body does register it different. Would be like bench press to incline bench press. That is a very small difference, but your body does know it's a difference. So it does kind of break through that plateau and say, okay, this is all I needed, and you continue the gains. But sticking with the same workout for 12 months is not recommended, because you don't want to get too good at an exercise. You always want a challenge, and your body will slow down. Your body does have a capacity, like a cap, it's called a genetic cap for muscle. Otherwise, people that work out for 15 years or even 30 years would be able to bench press 2 tons, like 4,000 pounds. So your body does have a limiter, but it also does have, whenever you're trying to work out the same thing over and over again, it has a limit. It has a smaller limiter inside that limiter for the same action. So you have to change actions, even though you're trying to hit the same muscle, just hit it differently. That's basically the point I'm trying to make, is that, and I think I've made it before in this podcast and a few episodes back. You have to make a slight change, and I recommend about every 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. So you do have, like, again, mesocycles and microcycles, micro, macro, and meso cycles. And honestly, for me, I try not to change too much, especially for online training. If something is working, I don't try to change it yet. It's when things start to get too easy, or you finally adapted to it, then we'll start to change. So sometimes that takes 2 months. 2 months for some people. They'll be doing kind of like the same thing. They're seeing progress. They're still seeing progress after 2 months. They're still seeing progress, and then it starts to slow, and then it's like, all right, well, then now we got to change it, instead of every month. Because sometimes, yeah, every month, some people, especially the advanced, can adapt pretty quickly. Some people just what they're doing is, it starts out kind of slow, and then it progresses after maybe 2 months, and then for me, I'll change it for them then. Another thing is, if your body has to adapt, and you have to do something over and over again to get better at it. And so you want to kind of like, you don't want to do something different every single day. You want to have a program that you're sticking to get better at it, or else you're not going to adapt. So if you're changing everything every day, like maybe one day you do squats, the next day you do that, and you don't hit squats again for like 2 or 3 weeks, well, you're not going to get better at the squat for a while. And so that's why you want to continually do the squat. But then that's where variation comes in. And for me, variations is like 2 to 12, 1 to 10, German volume training, 5x5, Tabata, or cluster sets, or the valley, stuff like that. Adding those variations in to the exercises that you want to keep getting better at, or that you're already good at, but now you need to kind of change, like I said, the rep range or the time or something like that, then that's where you start to throw in those extra variations. And we can talk specifically about variations like I mentioned earlier, the Valier, 5x5, German volume training, the 1 to 10, 2 to 12, cluster sets, stuff like that. Those are very fun ways, or some very fun ways to introduce variation to change things up. But if something's working and you're continually seeing progress, I wouldn't change it until you either feel like you're not progressing anymore, and then if you are limited on equipment or limited on things that you have or things that you can do, then that's where, instead of changing the exercise, maybe keep the exercise, but change how you're doing it by either, again, slowing the tempo down, or like tempo training. Again, that's another variation. Focusing on the negatives, stuff like that. That's where you introduce a little bit more of that.
So I do want to clarify one thing I didn't mention. I do agree with what you were saying. You should definitely not change something every single day. I was more talking to the advanced lifter, not someone new that I'm training. I was actually, when I was talking to more of somebody that was building their own program that has been working out for, let's say, 6 years, 5 years, and they're starting to see a slowdown. They're starting to see, like, just for the viewers, if you're new, get good at squats, get good at bench press, get good at knowing the internal cues and getting to know the form, and that takes high repetition. And for a new client, I'll stick with teaching squats for like 3 months, trying to get them the corrective exercise part of it. Is a focus of mine, where I make sure that the squats I see their squats in the beginning, and that helps me see what's disaligned. We focus on the rotation out, the hip setting and all that, and I can visually see, and so can they, that doing squats and doing these other exercises are physically changing their posture. And so I don't want to have the viewer confused with what I said. I'm not talking to a newbie. I'm talking to somebody that has been working out for a while, and they are noticing that they're slowing down. So I apologize if I was confusing on that. But also, I highly agree with Paul with what he was saying. With, if you are seeing gains and there is no problem, don't stop what ain't broke. Don't fix what ain't broke. So I know that me and him did sound like we were saying two different things, but I promise you, I do agree with what he was saying.
Yeah, and I still agree with you, for sure.
Nice. Okay, so we're at 57 minutes, and we've been doing really good at keeping these capped off at an hour.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add before we salute off?
Leave a comment down below. Start commenting, maybe like some topics that you want to see or us to talk about. Start getting involved more. The more you get involved, the more we actually know what you want to hear and talk about. And that's definitely something that I'd like to just mention.
I don't want to sound like a beggar, but if you do interact with our podcast and you leave a like, you share it, you comment below, it does help us kind of get out there. So you doing that for us is helping us help people. So we want to get out there as much as possible, and try to get the word out that we're trying to help people for free. And every action that you do towards this podcast is a good action towards getting us out there. Also, if you have, like you said, if you have any topics that you want to know, we are taking questions. We want topic ideas that come from you. So if you have anything that you want to hear about specifically, or if you have a specific question for you or somebody that you know, leave a comment below and go ahead and ask. You can also send an email to contact@personaltrainerandcompany.com, and I'll answer it there too, and actually be able to give you a kind of a detailed list of what we're going to talk about, and I'll link to the podcast as well. So, anything else, Paul?
No, that is it.
Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.
Yeah.